I only used it for fighting where that was my image, just real hardcore, no socks.
Mike Tyson, the former heavyweight champion of the world, is no stranger to controversy. From his meteoric rise in boxing to the personal battles and headline-grabbing incidents outside the ring, Tyson's life has been a roller coaster of fame, fortune, and infamy. Fans have watched his career with awe, horror, and sometimes disbelief, as he navigated both the glory of championship victories and the darkness of personal struggles. Yet, despite decades in the spotlight, he continues to shock the world in ways few could predict. In recent days, Tyson has made headlines once again, but this time, it isn't for a knockout in the ring, a celebrity podcast, or a comeback tour. Mike Tyson is reportedly behind bars following a dramatic and alarming outburst that has left fans, media outlets, and even his closest acquaintances stunned. Social media is buzzing with reactions, disbelief, and concern, as many wonder how one of boxing's most iconic figures could find himself in this situation once more. What exactly happened? How did a man who has been through so much legal battles, personal tragedy, and public scrutiny end up back in custody? Fans who remember his infamous moments in the 1990s are comparing them to this latest incident, noting the parallels and the consequences that come with Tyson's fiery temper. Yet, unlike the past, this event has sparked a renewed discussion about his mental health, his coping mechanisms, and the pressures of life after boxing. Now, the details are emerging, and the truth behind Tyson's shocking arrest is more complicated, emotional, and, in some ways, tragic than anyone could have imagined. Mike Tyson's name is synonymous with power, dominance, and controversy. He wasn't just a boxer, he was a cultural phenomenon, a man whose fists could intimidate entire arenas, and whose persona captured the imagination of millions. From his debut as the youngest heavyweight champion in history to his turbulent personal life, Tyson has always lived a life at the extreme. Fans remember the ferocity in the ring, the unpredictability outside of it, and the moments that blurred the line between brilliance and chaos. But behind the public image of a fearsome athlete lies a man wrestling with intense personal struggles, a man whose temper and emotions have often led him into trouble. In the early days of his career, Tyson's talent was undeniable. He could dismantle opponents with speed, power, and precision, and his rise to superstardom seemed unstoppable. Yet, even as he celebrated victories, controversy seemed to follow him. His infamous ear-biting incident, legal battles, and public outbursts painted a picture of a man who could not always control the fire inside him. Fans who admired his skills in the ring often watch with a mix of fascination and fear, as Tyson's personal life seemed to spiral alongside his professional triumphs. After retiring from boxing, many assumed Tyson would find peace. He had faced near-death experiences, personal tragedy, and the pressure of living life under constant scrutiny. He attempted comebacks, dabbled in acting, podcasting, and business ventures, and even found ways to share his story through public appearances and interviews. Yet, despite these efforts, Tyson's life outside the ring has been far from calm. Behind the cameras and headlines, he continues to grapple with old habits, unresolved trauma, and the volatility that has defined so much of his life. Recently, the world was stunned once again. Tyson, now in his late 50s, has reportedly been taken into custody following a shocking outburst. For fans, the news is both jarring and, in some ways, familiar. Tyson has a history of confrontations, but this latest incident stands out because it suggests that even decades after leaving the boxing ring, the man who once terrified opponents is still wrestling with impulses he struggles to control. The details emerging are complex. They involve a heated argument, emotional reactions, and actions that escalated beyond reason. What makes this event particularly alarming is that Tyson has seemed, in recent years, to be seeking redemption. He has publicly discussed his mental health, acknowledged past mistakes, and even appeared to be on a journey of self-improvement. Yet, this latest episode reminds the public that old patterns are difficult to break, and that the pressures, emotions, and impulses Tyson has battled for years remain a part of his life. It also raises questions about the challenges faced by athletes after retirement. particularly those who grew up in high-pressure environments and were never taught to cope with fame, anger, and loss in healthy ways. As fans react with disbelief, outrage, and concern, many are left wondering how one of the most celebrated boxers in history could find himself behind bars once more. Was this simply a moment of uncontrolled anger, or is it a symptom of deeper struggles, the emotional residue of a lifetime spent in the spotlight, often without the tools to navigate it? The answers are beginning to emerge, and they paint a picture of a man whose life is as tumultuous as it is extraordinary. A man who has given the world unforgettable moments in the ring, yet continues to wrestle with the human fragility that fame and power cannot erase. The story of Mike Tyson's latest arrest is more than just tabloid fodder. It is a window into the ongoing struggles of a man who has faced greatness, downfall, and the constant challenge of managing the fire within him. What happened, why it happened, and what comes next are questions that fans, media, and Tyson himself are now confronting. As the legacy of the boxer collides with the reality of the man, the details of Mike Tyson's latest outburst are slowly coming to light, and they are as shocking as they are disheartening. According to sources close to the situation, the incident began as a heated verbal confrontation. Tyson, known for his fiery temper, reportedly lost control during an argument that quickly escalated. Witnesses say that what started as a verbal disagreement turned physical, resulting in law enforcement being called to intervene. For fans who remember his days in the boxing ring, this level of aggression may seem familiar, but seeing it outside of a competitive arena is jarring. This isn't the first time Tyson has found himself on the wrong side of the law. Over the decades, his life has been punctuated by legal troubles, from altercations to more serious criminal cases. However, many believe that the lessons from his past combined with age, reflection, and public efforts to reform would prevent such a scenario from repeating. That is why this latest arrest has caused an even greater stir among fans and the media. People are grappling with the reality that even a man who has achieved legendary status in sports is not immune to moments of impulsivity and emotional volatility. Reports indicate that Tyson has expressed remorse since the incident. Those close to him say he is aware of the consequences of his actions and is seeking ways to make amends. Friends and family reportedly fear for his emotional well-being, noting that stress, public scrutiny, and personal struggles have a history of triggering explosive reactions. This has reignited public conversations about the pressures faced by retired athletes, especially those who rose to fame as young men, often without guidance in handling the intense emotions and fame that accompany extreme success. The incident has also raised broader questions about Tyson's mental health. Over the years, he has openly discussed his struggles with anger management, past trauma, and substance abuse. While he has made strides in addressing these issues, moments like this demonstrate how fragile progress can be when past wounds remain unresolved. Psychologists note that individuals who experience repeated high-intensity stress and fame may be more prone to sudden emotional outbursts even decades later. In Tyson's case, a lifetime of extreme highs and lows in the public eye has likely contributed to this vulnerability. Fans are divided in their reactions. Some express shock and disappointment, unable to reconcile the image of the reformed Tyson they admired with the man behind bars. Others show empathy, recognizing that human beings are complex and that even those who achieve legendary status face ongoing personal battles. Social media has erupted with speculation, support, and criticism, reflecting the complicated legacy of a man who has always lived life on the edge. Legal experts suggest that Tyson could face serious consequences, depending on the final investigation. However, insiders emphasize that this incident may also serve as a wake-up call, a reminder that seeking professional help and emotional guidance is not a sign of weakness, but a necessity for long-term well-being. For Tyson, navigating this moment will require more than public apologies. It will demand reflection, accountability, and continued work on the issues that have haunted him for decades. Ultimately, Tyson's latest arrest is a stark reminder that fame, fortune, and athletic prowess do not shield anyone from human fragility. The story is not just about a man behind bars, it's about the ongoing struggle to balance personal demons with public life, to confront the mistakes of the past, and to find a path forward even when the world is watching. Tyson's journey continues, but this chapter is one that will test him in ways no knockout ever could. The immediate fallout from Mike Tyson's latest arrest was swift and intense. Social media erupted as news outlets shared the story, and fans worldwide expressed a mixture of shock, anger, and disbelief. For many, Tyson's name is tied to his glory days in the ring, the ferocious knockout victories, the dramatic comebacks, and the moments when he seemed untouchable. But this latest incident reminded the public that outside the boxing ring, Tyson is still human, still vulnerable, and still grappling with the consequences of his emotions. Fans and commentators alike debated the reasons behind his behavior. Some blamed the pressures of fame and life after retirement from the sport. Boxing, they argue, is an environment that rewards aggression, and transitioning from that intensity into ordinary life can be challenging. Tyson, who reached unprecedented heights as a young man, has spent decades navigating the highs and lows of fame, wealth, and personal scrutiny. Experts in sports psychology note that athletes, like Tyson, often carry unprocessed trauma from their youth, coupled with the pressure to maintain public images long after their prime. Such factors can contribute to sudden, explosive behavior, even in adulthood. Public sentiment was divided. Longtime fans remembered the former champion's personal growth over recent years, the heartfelt interviews, his work with children and charities, and his candid reflections on past mistakes. They expressed disappointment, but also empathy, highlighting that personal struggles are ongoing and that one moment should not define a lifetime. Critics, however, focused on the repeated nature of Tyson's legal troubles, questioning whether age, wisdom, or self-reflection had made any impact on controlling his temper. These contrasting perspectives fueled conversations about accountability, rehabilitation, and the complexity of human behavior, especially in someone who has lived life under constant scrutiny. Celebrities and former athletes weighed in as well, many urging compassion while emphasizing responsibility. Some drew parallels between Tyson's situation and those of other sports legends who struggled with life after their careers ended. The consensus among many commentators was clear. While Tyson must face the consequences of his actions, the world should also recognize the underlying pressures and challenges that contribute to moments like this. Meanwhile, Tyson's family and close friends reportedly rallied around him, offering support and encouraging him to take proactive steps to manage his anger and emotional health. Insiders revealed that he has expressed genuine regret over the incident, acknowledging the disappointment he caused both himself and his supporters. Those closest to him stressed that his latest outburst does not erase the positive strides he has made over the years, but it does serve as a stark reminder that personal growth is an ongoing journey, one that requires consistent effort, accountability, and reflection. The broader conversation sparked by Tyson's arrest has resonated far beyond the sports community. Mental health advocates seized the moment to discuss the importance of support systems for high-profile individuals and the long-term effects of early life trauma combined with intense professional pressure. Tyson's life story, from his rise as a feared champion to his ongoing personal battles, illustrates the delicate balance between talent, fame, and emotional vulnerability. As the legal proceedings move forward, Tyson's path remains uncertain. Public interest continues to peak, fueled by a mix of concern, curiosity, and fascination with one of the most recognizable figures in sports history. What is undeniable is that this chapter of Tyson's life offers insight into the struggles of a man who has lived life at the extremes, who has faced both adoration and scrutiny, and who continues to navigate the difficult terrain between personal accountability and public expectation. The story of Mike Tyson's latest arrest is a complex one, blending shock, heartbreak, and an ongoing quest for redemption, a story that forces the public to confront the humanity behind the legend. As the dust begins to settle around Mike Tyson's latest arrest, the focus has shifted from the incident itself to the larger context of his life, choices, and ongoing struggles. For a man who has lived under intense scrutiny for decades, This moment is both a setback and an opportunity for reflection. Tyson's story is a reminder that fame and success do not immunize anyone from the challenges of managing emotion, trauma, and personal demons. In many ways, this episode serves as a mirror reflecting the complexities of a life spent in extremes. Tyson himself has reportedly expressed deep regret over the events that led to his arrest. Close friends and family have confirmed that he recognizes the gravity of his actions and is committed to taking steps to address the underlying issues that contributed to the outburst. For Tyson, accountability is not merely about public perception, it is a personal journey toward understanding the patterns of behavior that have both elevated and challenged him throughout his life. Those who know him well emphasize that his acknowledgement of mistakes is genuine, reflecting a man determined not to let one moment define the entirety of his life or legacy. The public reaction has been intense, as expected. Social media and news outlets have alternated between criticism, concern, and support. Many fans expressed disbelief, particularly those who admired Tyson's recent efforts to reinvent himself as a motivational figure, a philanthropist, and even a cultural icon beyond the boxing ring. Others stress the importance of understanding the context. Tyson's life has been shaped by extraordinary pressures, early life trauma, and the high stakes of a career in professional sports, all of which have left lasting emotional imprints. This duality, legendary achievements juxtaposed with human vulnerability, is central to the ongoing public fascination with him. Psychologists and sports experts point out that Tyson's situation underscores the need for ongoing mental health support, particularly for athletes who transition from intense careers into a less structured, high-pressure public life. The adrenaline, discipline, and focus required to dominate in the ring do not automatically translate into coping skills for everyday stressors, conflicts, or personal relationships. Tyson's story illustrates how unresolved emotional patterns can resurface, even decades later, and how public figures are often forced to confront private challenges under an unforgiving spotlight. Despite the seriousness of the situation, there is reason for cautious optimism. Tyson's recent years have shown a man who is capable of growth, introspection, and change. From candid interviews reflecting on his past mistakes to his efforts in mentoring young athletes, Tyson has repeatedly demonstrated resilience. This latest incident, while unfortunate, may serve as another turning point, a moment prompting renewed dedication to emotional health, self-awareness, and responsible decision-making. Ultimately, Mike Tyson's life is a study in contrasts, immense triumph and very public missteps, extraordinary talent and enduring vulnerability. Fans, critics, and the broader public are reminded that even the strongest, most iconic figures are human. Redemption, accountability, and growth are never linear, but Tyson's story continues to evolve. This chapter, marked by a shocking arrest, is also an invitation to witness a man navigating the complexities of life, legacy, and personal transformation. In the end, Tyson's journey reminds the world that every legend has a human side. The man behind the fame, the gloves, and the headlines continues to wrestle with the same struggles, fears, and hopes as the rest of us. How he responds to this moment through reflection, accountability, and growth will ultimately define not just this chapter, but the enduring story of Mike Tyson, a life lived fully, turbulently, and, above all, authentically.